Welcome back to another episode of Home Built by Howard. This week, we're going to get the rear shocks in place and start up on that roll cage.
360, 75 hours, 10-6.
So if you're new here and you don't know what this is my TR6 Restomod, where I'm taking all the internals from a BMW 135 and stuffing it into a 1968 Triumph TR6 on a custom frame. Last episode, we got these tire cribs built and got the front and rear subframes installed and got the car sitting on its tires under its own weight. So this is like the first time since we took the body off of the original Triumph chassis that this car has actually been on its wheels. So super excited about having got that done. Listen, there you can check out all the old videos. They're in a playlist there. Like, subscribe, hit the notification. I really appreciate everybody who watches the videos and who comments and stuff. I try to comment back to everybody when I can. But anyways, let's tuck into this and get the ball rolling on these rear shocks and on the roll cage. And I'll just show you some of the stuff that is going on and some of the things we have to start thinking forward about while we're doing this stuff now. Otherwise, we're going to find ourselves having to take 6 steps backwards. So let's tuck into that and I'll show you what we're doing. All right, I'm going to apologize about any road noise. I got the garage open, it's raining and cars are going by, but hopefully you'll be able to hear me. So anyway, we got the tires and I just put the fenders on, I just clamped it into place. They're just sitting there just to give an idea of what the stance of this car is like. And, I'm really liking it. Like it's sitting, that is where it's supposed to sit. I am going to be doing some work, obviously widening the fenders and dropping that wheel arch when I do that. So the tires will be tucked up a little bit more. Plus, I'm likely going with a larger diameter rim. These are the 17-inch rims. I'll probably go with a 19 or 20-inch rim. And I don't know if I'll go with a lower profile tire. It's kind of a cool look, but it makes it a really rough ride. And, you just damage your rims. You should see you see what happened on my other BMW is brutal. The front is obviously sitting a little bit higher, but again, we don't have this huge lump in there right now. So that's going to sit lower, and I have these springs slammed as far down as they will go. So I can always go up. Going down is always harder. Now, these are more than close. They're ridiculous. This is the stock rim. The offset is the same front and back. There's no stagger on these. They're identical tires. But with the stock suspension, the springs start in such a way, they start above the tire. Here, and I don't know if you can see, there's literally, I think there's maybe, 3 millimeters. And on this side, there's absolutely nothing. Now, I kind of expect the camber's kind of messed on this. I know that everything is even. So I'm going to need 10 millimeter spacers on the front. So my tires are, I'm likely going to put just some 10 millimeter worth of washers in there just to space them out so that I can see where they're going to be. But when I buy rims, I'm going to buy rims with the correct offset on the front. The rear, I'm not changing the offset. Now, as you can see, if we look down the side of the car, these are like, man, this is some Carroll Shelby stuff here, man, with these offsets. We're like, we're like those pickup truck guys. We got the tires sticking way out the side on 3-inch offsets. I am going to be widening this car. Simple as that. So really, this distance here is what I've got to make up. And I probably don't need to make up all of it. But either way, I've got about 3 inches worth of gap that I need to stretch. And I've mentioned this before. The seam that runs along the top here, you can see the highlight of this seam. This fender rolls down, then it comes out, and then it drops down again. What I want to do is I want to cut all the way along that seam, all the way to the end there, and all the way to the front, okay? And what I want to do is I want to put a spacer in there to actually come out at an angle, which is going to do two things. One, it's going to move this out, but it's also going to move it down, which is going to shrink that distance a little bit there visually. The other thing I want to do, which I saw somebody did online, is they sliced the fender from here all the way up, just in a single line, all the way around here and down to here. And then all they did was they took that piece and tilted it out and put like a little V-shape filler in there. And what that does is it means that, yes, this part of my fender comes out, this moves out to here, but then this comes out and goes over the tire and then tucks back in again, which is really, really nice. It's a nice, elegant way of taking care of getting that fender up over the tire, even if it's, not tucked in here. This piece here obviously is going to get moved out about that far. So the new fender is going to be here, right? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a grill, an air intake grill or an air grill, just some slats or something in there to fill that space up, so that the door will still open. But what I'll do is I'll leave part of this inner fender like that in place so that when you're looking down the inside, it looks like it's full, and I'll cap that all off on the inside. So there'll be kind of a half inner, half outer fender. The back, again, same sort of thing where I'm going to trim along this line and I'm going to bring this out right here. And I'm going to leave an air intake here that just is a nice visual, and you can sort of see the chalk line. Same thing, I'll tilt these out. I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do here. I'm playing with the idea in the back of actually stopping it dead, bringing it out and doing kind of, a grill here to match the front, and having, either whether it's here near the taillights or it's a little bit further forward. Just this idea of having kind of a solid step out, looks okay in the back, and it'll end the back the same as the front here ends. And this will, be back in here. That way my door's kind of tucked in, my fenders are out. Then if I need, I can add a bit of a running board along the bottom there, or I can do something like that. When it comes to the back, the bottom here, I might do those sort of cutouts, those kind of cool cutouts that everyone's doing now, with that kind of look like that, right? Anyway, that's kind of what we're thinking forward as we move. So these fenders are still going to be hung off of the body, off the car, right? They're not going to be solid mounted. I'll have them bolted on. Fortunately, I have another full set of fenders up there that are actually in much better shape than these ones. So I will likely, all the bottom here is rusted out, all that, I will be cutting this away. This will be maybe my top fender, and then I'll be able to get between the two fenders, I'll be able to make one set of fenders that is in good shape. Both the top, the front, the back, the bottom, the sides, all that crap. Anyway, that's where we're at. So let's yank these fenders off so that they don't fall off while I'm moving around and banging up against the car. And let's take a look at what we need to do to get that shock in place at the back here. Okay, so I got the shock in place, and you can sort of see from the rust, the shield would be down here. So this shock is at a high extension because this wheel arch is way higher than what was in the BMW. So what I need to do is I need to drop this about 60 millimeters. What I will do is I'm going to come off of this and the frame here with a flat plate that's welded on and has a back on it and comes to a top plate that is at the right height that I want here, that this will sit on. That way the shock will be contained inside of this. And what I will do then is I will do a cutout in here that drops down on top of that so that I can weld the top of the plate to the body. But that will also give me the ability that when I run my tube up across the roll bar and I come down diagonally, I can go straight into there onto a flat plate that is right at the top of that shock mount, and that will transfer, through the rest of the subframe. I'll also be doing one going across the top of the towers as well. And I don't strictly necessarily need that I haven't decided if I'm going to do a cross brace at the back, then I won't need one going straight across, but I do want to make sure that it is really, really rigid because I might swap these out for coilovers, which means that I won't have to worry about getting a lowered spring there. I'll just have a coilover and I would just be able to cut this piece off of there. So I haven't decided if that's what I'm going to do or not. Right now, price wise, I'll have to see, getting a set of springs that are the right height and the right, the right weight or spring rate for the weight of the vehicle, given what I'm doing to it. It's going to be a lot lighter than BMW, so in the back anyway. So I might have to adjust those, and the cost of getting those in that height at the right rate might be more expensive than just getting a set of coilovers that I know will be the full height, and I'll have some adjustability in them because I'll buy obviously adjustable coilovers. So anyways, let's get started just getting that height wise into the right place and start building out our cardboard for that. All right, so I need a couple tube spacers. Granted, the ID of this is not exactly what I need, but I will make the plates that are on it the right size. So a lot of people like to use a zip tie to mark these out. I tend to use a pipe clamp. I find that it's a little bit more accurate. You don't need it to go all the way through. You spin it around and you get a perfect circle, especially on, metal to metal. There's no chance of it being crooked. And that just at least marks a line for you around that you can then, grind to or sand to. And I think it's a lot more accurate if you have one of these. So that's what I do. Hopefully that helps. All right, so as it turns out, the thickness I need is basically, by the time I have this plate, basically that's all the thickness that I need in order to, make this happen. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to drill a hole through this plate, right? And then it'll get welded to, I'll cut out the circle and it'll get welded to this plate, and this plate will have just the smaller hole in it, for the actual stud to come through and the washer to sit on top, and the rubber sits on top of that. And then on this one, it actually sits down onto the onto the rubber grommet that goes in. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at with that, and that'll give me the right thickness. All right, so what we've done here is I've made this top plate here, and it fits tight against this the back inner fender, and I've got two spacers. I actually needed an extra spacer in there, but that sets that. I also remeasured the height of the shock, and what I've done is I've set it at ride height at half of the compression. So, that the shock is sitting 50-50. So what we're going to do now is we are going to make a cardboard template for the side pieces, both the front and the back side, and go from there. So let's All right. Well, as you saw there, I welded this up. So I gave it a good solid weld. Oh, geez. Focus. Okay, let's try that. There we go. All right. Gave it a good solid weld on both sides, inside and outside. And I put in the those rings there. So those are good now. And now I need, what do I need? I need a cross brace, something in here. So I'm going to put a piece that's kind of got a curve this way and is flat at the back and just bridges these two. And, the reason for that is with it in place, here, if the shock takes a heavy hit, there's a chance that the top could twist, like twist this way, right? And I just want to give it a little bit more rigidity there. It is going to be, welded to the back and welded to the bottom. There's going to be another plate on the top with all that, all that other crap that's going in there. But, it's open. I may as well do it now while it's sitting on the bench and it's easy to, to get at. So let's design something up when that cools down, because I'm not burning myself again for nobody. So you'll have to wait. Well, so we've got this. Let me get the zoom set up here. There we go. All right, so we got a piece welded in. That'll just make it a lot more, make it stiffer anyways. You know what I mean? It'll just help keep it from, doing something wonky like this. And, with the shock pushing up this way, it'll stop some of the twist. I'm not too worried about it, but yeah, I think that'll be good. I got all the pieces cut out for the other side. So, and I just tacked this in place here. Because before I did it afterwards, but now I know where it is. So I'm going to mount that onto the shock and we're going to do the other side. Okay, we got both of them done. They're hot. At least that one's really hot. Just finished welding that up. But yeah, there's a little bit of bend or warp in it, which just, from the heat, I will just bend that out and it'll be the same on both sides. So I need to get new grommets or bump stops and rubbers for these. I'm missing one of the rubber pieces. So I'm just going to order that from Amazon and I'm just going to use those shocks for mock-up, etc. So yeah, I'll be getting that in. So that took a lot longer than I thought it was going to take. Yeah, but we had to fabricate something, right? It's not like we, we were just assembling parts, right? We were making everything from metal, from flat stock, and measuring and cutting and going as we go. So anyway, yeah, so those need to be welded in once I've got once I get those bump stops and rubber grommets. All right. That is pretty much all I'm going to have time for on this episode. Yeah, continuity wise, different shirt, getting ready for the next episode, but I have so much footage and that took so much more time. And there was so much stuff that I wanted you to see that I'm going to end it there. And next episode, we will actually weld those in. So for me, continuity, it's going to happen right now. For you, you have to wait a few weeks for that to come in. As I've said before, I really appreciate you all sticking around and watching this. I've said before, I live somewhere where in the winter, there's zero chance of me getting into the garage. It is, it drops to we've hit -50 here. And if you don't know what -50 Celsius is like, it's brutal. Maybe, this winter I'll throw up a short, when it drops to -40, -50, of me throwing, boiling water into the air and it immediately turning to dust. It's that cold. So there's no way I can work during the winter in here once it, drops down to, -5, -10 degrees Celsius. It's just too cold. So I stack as many episodes in as I can during the summer so that I can edit them and at least release stuff on a regular basis for you through the whole year. So, yeah, I promise though, if I get this, as soon as I get this car finished, if I have episodes backed up, I will release those episodes every single week to get them out to you once the car is done, right? Otherwise I kind of my episodes do this summer winter as I eat into them. Anyway, thank you so much for sticking around. Really appreciate it. If you get a chance, hit that like button, hit subscribe if you want to see more of these. Comment, please. Really love those comments. Love to hear what I'm doing right, what I'm doing wrong, what your thoughts are. And even though I'm kind of backed up, I don't get far enough ahead that, I see these comments come in. I will make changes if I do something really stupid. I really love to get your feedback on what I'm doing, whether you like it or not. If there's something you want me to show more of, let me know. Tell me if you want me to do voiceovers of the high speed, or whether you just want me to do the work and show you it finished, or whether you want to see the whole process. Tell me, and I'll do that sort of footage for you. It doesn't matter to me. I'm just having fun with this. So anyway, thanks again, and we'll see you for you next episode. For me, it's going to be 2 minutes. See ya.